Our voice is our most underutilized tool of influence.
You see,
These actors are unforgettable. For voices you instantly recognize.
you find the fun and snap. The job's a game.
Fugazi, Fugazi, it's a wazi, it's a woozy, it's a fairy dust. It doesn't exist.
And they watch the game. It'll be as if they'd dipped themselves in magic waters.
And what's interesting is researchers found that we decide how confident someone is within 200 milliseconds of hearing them speak, which means your first impression, before even your gestures or your posture or eye contact, is actually in one single word, your first word, which is usually hello. What most people don't realize is they can have a complete voice makeover in just a few minutes. If you know how to leverage your voice as a tool, you can change your volume, your pace, your cadence, and those all send signals of influence, and it's actually very easy to do. Most people have heard of Elizabeth Holmes, the notorious entrepreneur and felon. I think Elizabeth Holmes read a very famous study that I'm about to share with you on vocal power. And in this study, one of the things they talk about is that having a low tone is really good for authority. Here's the problem. The study notes that it should be the lowest end of your natural tone, not your fake lowest tone. There's a fine line here between making sure we're using your voice in an authentic, influential way and not making it sound fake. Just to show you what I mean, here are two clips of Elizabeth Holmes, one early on in her career and one later in her career. See if you can hear the difference.
And we talked to our lab team and they said, okay, you can do the draw. And so they did this, what would have been a finger stick on this little nub. Over the last 11 years, we've reinvented the traditional laboratory infrastructure.
We don't want to go Elizabeth Holmes low. I'm going to talk to you about changing your voice, but I still want it to feel natural to you. People with a great voice, you remember them. For example, Cate Blanchett. Oh, she has that deep, rich vocal resonance.
Even the wisest cannot tell, for the mirror shows many things.
I am my father's daughter. I'm just jealous because I love you. You should be flattered.
Or even Margaret Thatcher. And a funny story about Margaret Thatcher, former Prime Minister of the UK. When she first started as a politician, she actually used the highest end of her natural voice. She spoke in sort of a sing-songy voice up here at the highest end of her voice. So when she spoke, it was much higher in tone. Laurence Olivier, the famed actor, said to her, "Margaret, if you use that tone of voice, you will never be elected Prime Minister. You need to use the lower end of your natural range." And so she ended up going to the lowest end of her natural range. And I want you to watch these two clips. This is one before her training, and then there's one after her training, and just hear the difference.
I'm very much aware of the responsibilities and a little bit apprehensive. Who wouldn't be when you think of the names that I follow?
I feel very strongly about it. The greatest divisions this nation has ever seen were the conflicts of trade unions towards the end of a Labour government.
Isn't it amazing that in that second clip, you don't even know what she's talking about, but doesn't it sound important? We just know that people with that low resonance point, they are cueing credibility. We literally want to lean in and hear more because we think, well, if they feel confident about this, I better feel confident about this too. Margaret Thatcher used the low end of her natural voice, unlike Elizabeth Holmes, whose low tone sounded forced. And of course, we can't talk about voice without talking about Morgan Freeman. Oh, the liquid voice. It's so good.
It's not Shakespeare. It does not speak in memorable lines. My inner voice always gives it to me straight.
And I actually heard him in an interview say that the trick to his vocal power, which we can use too, is that to warm up his voice, he yawns, because it stretches out his mouth. It stretches out his vocal cords, his jaw, all the muscles in his neck, and that creates looseness. It makes him more relaxed, and that makes him sound more confident. A yawn is literally the opposite of nervous tension, so you could also try yawning right before a call. We can learn a lot about a person from their voice. The biggest thing is anxiety or tension. We are listening for someone who has anxiety or nervousness because we don't want to catch it. And also, we don't like to work with nervous people. We don't want to buy from nervous people. We don't want to learn from nervous people. And so it's incredibly important that we signal confidence and comfort with our voice. And that's what I want to teach you how to do. I want to introduce a clip of Shruti, who came in and sat down and lacked vocal power. I want you to hear what she does with her voice and how we fix it. Please welcome. So I would love to hear everything about you. Tell me about you.
Okay, so for work, I do some ethics and regulation research across the biomedical sciences. I have a background in science. I study public health.
One thing I noticed about Shruti is she gives away her vocal confidence with her vocal power. So instead of stating her name, stating what she did, she lost volume and she ended up going into a little bit of vocal fry. That's when you lose volume and your voice begins to sizzle. It is incredibly hard to take someone seriously when they're using vocal fry. The reason that we like big, powerful, booming speakers is they have lots of breath to be able to speak to you, and that breath comes from confidence. So one of the fastest things that you can do to improve your confidence is to take in more breath and to speak with more breath. I would love to dial up your vocal power. When you are talking, I want you to give me a little bit more volume and breath. So what I want you to do is when you sit down or when you're about to answer a question, start with a deep breath and then speak on the out breath. So you're fueling all that voice with a lot of breath, and that's going to make you speak a little bit louder. So let's practice. I'm going to say, so tell me what you do.
So I do ethics and regulation research across the biomedical sciences.
Okay, so I could hear you, but I could hear you going down. So you're using the end of your breath. Let's start just to do the first part again with a little bit more breath. So tell me what you do.
I do ethics and regulation research across the biomedical sciences.
Nice. That's great. And remember to keep that volume at the end. Powerful people tend to go louder at the end of their sentences. It's a way that they end really with a finality. So I want you to end even louder. And I know this is hard,
okay,
but I want you to practice it even louder at the end. And I want to see if we can hear the confidence difference. So tell me what you do.
I do ethics and regulation research across the biomedical sciences. Yeah, it sounds more solid.
It sounds more solid.
Yeah.
I've done thousands of sales trainings for different companies. And one thing I hear is that when people ask their number, they drop volume. So it sounds like this. We'd love to work with you. We'd love to have your business. And the cost of that package is $5,000. That is because you're nervous about that number. I hear this a lot with sales professionals. And this is because when we are the most nervous, talking about budgets or timeline or money, we tend to lose volume. And guess what? If you're nervous about the number, you're going to make the other person nervous too. So be sure on the most important pieces of information, your boundaries, your prices, your timelines, your budgets, you are saying it. You're saying it with even more volume. And that's what I was able to help Shruti with. When you have more breath, you're able to give more volume. If you ever hear yourself going a little bit lower in your volume, I want you to take a deep breath and speak on the out breath. The other thing that we do when we're nervous is we ask instead of state. I hear this most often on our names and our job titles. My name is Vanessa. I'm an author. I study confidence. You would not probably want to read my books on confidence. Versus, let's hear it with the downward inflection. My name is Vanessa. I'm an author. I write books on confidence. Totally different, same verbal. Take a look at this clip with Ariana. If you listen to Ariana, she uses something called up-talking. Up-talking is when you go up at the end of your sentence. So instead of saying, we ask. It is so nice to meet you.
Yes.
I would love to hear everything about you. So tell me, what do you do?
So I am a call center agent for a health company.
Okay, so here's how you're doing it so you can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a call center agent for a health company, but I'm like, I want to hear you're a call center agent for a health company, right? Ariana asked me her name and asked me what she did, and that is a signal of low confidence. When someone accidentally uses the question inflection on a statement, our brain goes from listening to scrutinizing, which means we think, why did you just ask that? Why did you question it? Should I question it too? If you ask your statements, you are asking people to question you. The way that I want you to do it is, I'm a call center agent for a health company.
Okay.
Right? So tell me what you do.
I'm a call center agent for a health company.
Great.
Yeah.
Does it feel different?
Yeah.
That way I hear you, I believe you. Perfect.
Got it.
There's one very, very famous study that looked at surgeons' vocal power. Now, the reason they chose surgeons for this study is surgeons are all smart. They've made it through medical school. They've worked very hard in their career to be surgeons. And they had them record 10-second voice tone clips. In these clips, they had them say their name, where they worked, and their specialty. It sounded like this. Hi, my name is Dr. Edwards. I specialize in oncology, and I work at Children's Presbyterian Hospital. Doctors who had the worst ratings across the board, their clips sounded like this. Hi, my name is Dr. Edwards. I specialize in oncology. I work at Children's Presbyterian Hospital. If you ask your name, you're asking people to doubt you. If you ask your numbers or your boundaries, you're telling people, I don't really believe this and neither should you. Do not use uptalk. I'm working very hard in this class to keep my voice as low as possible, to use my lowest natural tone. And it feels good, but I have to work at it. When I'm nervous or anxious, my voice tightens, and I'm going to tighten my voice for you so you can hear it. So when I'm really anxious or I'm feeling afraid, my voice will go a little bit higher in my vocal range and I begin to have vocal fry. Now, if I were to teach you this entire course like this, it would drive you crazy. Now I'm going to lower my voice back down. Wasn't that horrible? You're like, I can't listen to any more of that. That's because it is physically painful for us to listen to people who are in anxiety. We don't want to catch it. So what you can do if you are speaking and you hear yourself go a little higher in your tone, I want you to take a deep breath and speak on the out breath. Think about relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your neck, and here's an exercise we can do together. So what I want you to do is I want you to hear the highest end of your natural tone together first. We're going to take a deep breath in, and I want you to say hello at the top of your breath. Hello. Hello. That's the top of your range. I never want you to use that part of your range. If you hear yourself up there, that's not a good one. This is for both men and women, by the way. Now we're going to do the opposite. Now I want you to say hello on the out breath. This is the lowest end of your natural range. So I'm going to do both for you so you can hear the difference for me. So here's the highest end of my range. Hello versus hello. So those both sound like me, but who would you want to talk to? I hope it's the second one, right? The second one sounds much more confident. So now let's do it together. So we're going to say hello. So take a deep breath, shake your shoulders out, and we're going to say hello on the out breath. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Hello. That is the lower end of your natural range. If you can answer the phone, answer a video call, your vocal first impression, give your presentation, state your boundaries in that tone of voice, people will take you more seriously. Here's a great way to practice your vocal power. Record a simple opening line when practicing or preparing a presentation or speech. First, do it in a neutral voice. Then imagine the people you would be talking to and record it again. See how it makes a difference in your delivery. There was a moment in history where nonverbal communication became the talk of the town. And it was in the 1960s in the first televised presidential debate. This was between Richard Nixon and John F. Kennedy. Now, these two men were both running for the presidency. And it was a very big deal because it was the first time in U.S. history where part of the population watched the debate on television and part of the population listened to the debate on the radio. Everyone who watched the debate was sure that Kennedy won, and everyone who listened to the debate was sure that Nixon won. So what I want to do is I want to show you a very old ancient clip, black and white, but it still speaks very loudly. I want you to count every cue you see. Look at Nixon, look at Kennedy. What do you notice? And then we're going to break down the clip together. Take a watch.
The reason Franklin Roosevelt was a good neighbor in Latin America was because he was a good neighbor in the United States. Because they felt that the American society was moving again.
That shows that there's been more growth in this administration than in its predecessors. But let's not put it there. Let's put it in terms of the average family. What has happened to you?
What did you see in this clip? Let's start with Nixon. Notice how he's rocking side to side. It's classic nervous energy, like he's trying to steady himself. And his face looks tense, almost angry. And that aggressive nodding, it's meant to project confidence, but instead it feels forced, revealing just how uneasy he is under pressure. Now let's look at Kennedy again. He's calm, steady, using natural hand gestures and only nodding his head to emphasize a point. It makes him look relaxed, in control, and confident without trying too hard. Some little interesting background about this is that Nixon just left the hospital because he injured his knee on the campaign trail. Do you notice how he's sitting? He's actually sitting in what's called a universal runner stance. Runners use this position when they're about to launch into a run. And so when we see it on a leader, it makes them look a little shifty. And I think this position made him look unstable. It made him look flighty. So for you, you want to make sure when you're seated or standing, you are planting your feet. You don't have one foot back. You're not looking like you're about to bolt. The next thing you might notice is that Nixon was looking over at Kennedy. Now, we know from the triple threat the importance of eye contact, but gaze actually drives attention. What happened was, the moment he looked over at Kennedy, he gave away all of his engagement. Because what do? You look over at Kennedy. So for example, if I were to do this entire course and glance up at the ceiling, you would get really curious about what was on the ceiling because you're looking for attention to where my gaze is going. So when he looked at Kennedy, he lost oxytocin with the audience, and it made him look like, hey, why is he disconnected with me? This is why it is so important on video calls, in person, when you're at a big meeting table, that you are giving eye contact to the person who is the most important. In this case, it was the audience at home. The next thing you may notice are Nixon's fidgety hand gestures. We like leaders who have still, purposeful movements. So when he self-touches his hand, it makes him look a little bit anxious. And then do you notice what he's doing with his fist? He's white-knuckling that chair. And we recognize a fist as a tight, closed-minded cue. It also shows anger. It's what we do when we're about to get into a fist fight. We don't want our leaders to be closed-minded. We don't want our leaders to be tense or look like they're about to white-knuckle us. And so we do not like that fist cue. The last cue you might have noticed on Nixon is he has an asymmetrical smile, also known as contempt. And you know, we do not like contemptuous expressions. We want a leader who's optimistic and positive. We don't want a leader who's full of scorn and disdain. And so when he showed us that half smile, it leaked his scorn and contempt, which we don't like.
If we do well here, if we meet our obligations, if we're moving ahead, then I think freedom will be secure around the world. If we fail, then freedom fails.
Kennedy is the picture of leadership. First, he's nice and relaxed. He has a maximum distance between his shoulders and his ears. He's calm. He has his hands at rest, visible in front of him. They don't move at all. In fact, Kennedy has very little movement. He makes eye contact with the camera. He's very, very still. We like people who don't waste movement. So in your mind, when you're in a meeting or on a video call and you're thinking, how can I look more confident? I want you to literally channel Kennedy. Think of how can you calm yourself, maximize your distance, and keep your hands visible but at rest. Now, interestingly, Kennedy decided to cross his legs, which I think was a power cue. It made him look like, I'm here to stay. I'm getting nice and comfortable. It is totally okay to cross your legs. Where I want you to be careful is crossing your arms. Cornell University did a fascinating study where they wanted to identify the signals of untrustworthiness. They found there are 4 signals that immediately signal untrustworthiness. The first one, the big one, is fidgeting hands. The other 3 are touching the face, leaning away or turning away, and physically blocking. We don't like it when someone crosses their arms. In fact, I've been very careful this whole course to make sure that my torso is open towards you. Why? We don't want any barriers blocking the connection between you and me. So if I were to cross my arms, even if I were cold or it was comfortable, it would actually set up a very small emotional barrier. So your open arms, having a nice open torso, just like Kennedy did, not only makes you look more open to others, it also makes you think in a more open-minded way. Whatever you do, avoid those 4 behaviors. Don't touch your face. Don't fidget with your hands. Don't turn away, and don't block. Practice posing in an open position, both sitting and standing in front of a full-length mirror. Then try your new behaviors on trusted friends. The Nixon-Kennedy debate proved that body language speaks louder than words. Nixon's nervous cues lost the room. Kennedy's calm presence won it. To lead with confidence, stay still, make eye contact, and keep your body open. Presence is power. So we've learned how to use our voice, how to use our body. Now I want to talk about how you use space. How do you own a room with the physical placement of your body, of other people, of props? This is a really important power cue because you don't realize how space is actually cueing your emotions. There's 2 ways that we use space. First is the physical space that you take up. So the more space you take up with your body by rolling your shoulders back and using more gestures and planting your feet firmly, you're taking up physical air in the room. The second way is your body in position with other people. And what research shows is that the closer we are to someone physically, the closer we can feel them emotionally. So you want to be paying attention to 2 different things with this. First is how close do people get to you? That's going to signal to you how intimate do they feel with you. Do they want to be a close talker and be really intimate? Are they standing really far away and don't lean in at all? That means they want more physical distance. Second, how do you want to use space? You can use space to signal intimacy. You can go a little bit closer to someone not too close, but a little bit closer to someone to show, I really deeply want to connect with you. You can do this by stepping in. You can do it by leaning in. You can do it by reaching in. You can use space to your advantage if you think purposely about the kind of relationship you want to have with each person. There are 4 different physical space zones. There's the public zone, which is 7 or more feet apart. The social zone, which is 4 to 7 feet apart. The personal zone, which is about 2 to 4 feet apart. And then there's the intimate zone. That's just 0 to 18 inches away from someone. I've asked Sriti and Adiri to demonstrate how we can use these zones appropriately so you can see each of the space zones in action, whether you're in a professional setting, a networking setting, or a romantic setting. You're meeting for the first time, and usually this starts in the public zone, where you're about this far away. Now, could you imagine trying to have a conversation with each other from here?
Not at all.
Right. What do you do? Can you even shake hands? Try to shake hands? No, no, too far. Okay, public zone. Now let's say that you go into the social zone. So take 1 step forward. So this feels a little bit more natural. Could you talk to each other easily, you think? A little bit. In fact, this is the length of a conference table, right? If you were at a conference room, you could have a table between you. You could talk a little bit, but you wouldn't be able to shake hands, right? Should put your hands out? Okay, take 1 step closer. Okay, now you're in the personal zone. Don't you feel like you could have conversation here? Right? And you could reach out and shake hands perfectly. That's how you know that you're in the personal zone. That is the perfect distance to have a good conversation. The last zone, we're going to get intimate. It's called the intimate zone. Take 1 step further. Are you uncomfortable?
No,
Not yet? Then a little bit closer. And nervous laughter begins. This is the intimate zone. Would you ever have a normal business conversation like this?
It depends. What kind of business we're in?
Okay, what kind of business we're in? This is close talking, right?
Yeah.
It would be very hard to have a good business conversation. This is because you're just too close. This is reserved for our intimates. I love this clip from one of my favorite shows, Seinfeld. Jerry talks to his mother about Elaine's boyfriend because he's a close talker.
So how long are you folks in town?
3 more days, and then we're off to Paris.
The boyfriend proceeds to stand 6 inches away from everyone he meets, talking and literally breathing into people's mouths. Ugh. The notorious close talker is completely clueless that he's alienating everyone in the room. Don't be a close talker. We tend to forget all about space when we're on video, and what happens is we get too close to the camera. If you are too close to the camera, it's the equivalent of being a close talker digitally. So I want you to do a little experiment for me. I want you to measure the distance between your nose and the camera. You have to be at least 18 inches away from the camera. That is the perfect sweet spot for having good conversation. The goal is to make on camera the same as in person. You would never sit 6 inches away from someone in a meeting. So you want to mimic what it would be like in a meeting. You would make sure that they were at eye level with you. That way your on-camera interactions are similar or feel as close and as intimate as your in-person interactions. So we can use space standing, obviously, but we also can use space zones seated. Let's look at what you should do when you walk into a conference room or a boardroom or a party. Where should you sit at the table? Believe it or not, you can increase your confidence and persuasiveness by learning where to sit in a meeting, networking event, or classroom. Check out the layout of this conference room. If your boss or decision maker is in position A, where should you sit to have the most influence? The answer is seat B, on the left side of the power player, as people tend to like information from their left side. The closer you are to someone physically, the closer you feel to them. When you're this close, you can lean into your boss's personal space, share documents, or quietly share ideas in their ear, and even reach out for an arm touch or a high five. These are called the flanking positions. When you sit in this position, you can influence the flow of the meeting by assisting. Your opinion is more likely to be heard by the person sitting in the power seat, even if the group is talking all at once. You can draw attention toward or away from topics. You can prompt a speeding up or slowing down of the agenda. As to why the leader sits in seat A, this seat is inherently high in competence because it's the farthest away from everyone, but also has the most visibility. When the leader sits in the middle of the table, same rules apply. Take note of where your leader sits. The farther away you sit from the leader in the meeting, the less you will be recognized or called on. Middle seats, position D, generate less eye contact and less floor time simply because of the nature of a boardroom table. For this reason, here's a tip if you're in the middle. You especially need to use fronting and leaning in. Be sure to swivel your body toward whoever is speaking to show respect and engagement. Alternatively, the seat directly opposite the power player, seat E, is what I call the contender. It can be effective if you're ready to directly address the leader. What about seat F? Need to sneak out early? Don't want to be heard? Aren't a power player just yet? Then the sideline seats are for you. These are the seats farthest away from the action. If you don't want to be sidelined or plan to speak up in a meeting, then avoid these seats. Commanding and influencing the room is not just about verbal and nonverbal techniques you've learned in this class. It's also about figuring out how to feel powerful by identifying what you're great at. That means finding your expert powers. This is the unique strength, knowledge, or skill set that you have in a specific area. It's not about degrees or titles. It's not about having the loudest voice in the room. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your stuff and knowing that your unique skills, experience, and perspective offer something that no one else can. How do you uncover your expert power? First, identify your highlights. What are the moments you felt most helpful, valuable, or effective? What were you doing? Second, ask the magic question. Go to 3 people you trust and ask, what do you think I'm best at? You might be surprised by what comes up. Third, find your repeat button. What do people keep asking you about? That's a clue to your credibility zone. Here's some big expert powers. These are the obvious resume-level skills that others easily recognize as expertise, like advanced degrees or certifications like an MBA or PhD, winning industry awards, or leading large-scale projects or teams. But what if you don't have that? Here's some small expert powers you likely have right now. Valuable specific skills that may fly under the radar but consistently add major value, like running productive meetings, being extroverted, organizing information, making complex topics digestible for others. And here are some micro expert powers, subtle, often subconscious social or emotional skills that elevate team culture and personal impact. Sensing when someone feels excluded and looping them in. Knowing exactly when to give encouragement. Asking amazing follow-up questions that make others feel seen. Translating between conflicting personalities. Giving feedback that lands well every time. Being the first to clap, laugh, or make someone feel valued. It's so easy to be confident and to show confidence when you are using your expert powers all the time. It's also amazing as a leader to help others find their expert power so they showcase and sound confident. The more you can exercise your expert powers at work, the more you'll feel valued and respected, and others will value and respect you. My hope for you after taking this class is that you can walk into a room, hop on a call, and feel like you can be your best self. That you know exactly how to command respect, how to make an impact, and how to help yourself get your ideas out there. I want you to get the promotions you deserve, get the pay you want, and make sure that you're making connections with everyone you work with. I hope that you will feel confident pitching every idea that you might have, and I can't wait to see you grow in your career.